Mafia, are you ready?
He said, "Are you ready?"
This is Brotherly Love Wrestling Podcast, your first stop for everything professional wrestling. So sit back and enjoy wrestling talk at its finest with your hosts, Larry Hall and Joe Corrado.
Welcome everybody to Brotherly Love Wrestling, and on today's show from Ring of Honor Wrestling, and coming up on August 21st at 7 o'clock, live from 2300 Arena in South Philadelphia, versing Matt Taven, we have Vincent joining us. Vincent, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, boys.
Not a problem at all. Glad to have you on. Now, would it be leader of the righteous, or is everyone equal and it's kind of just...
They call me the leader, but I see us. I'd like to say we're equal, but yeah, man, I guess I'm the leader.
Now that's what I thought you were going to say, but I mean, out of all faction groups in wrestling, you guys are one of the most unique in the fact that you're bringing it back to like a darker image. I mean, now that's a testament to your background, and you are the horror king. Is this just been something that's been building and building in your mind for so long, and you're finally able to get the right group together?
To be honest, man, this is something. I mean, this is something I've always like wanted to kind of do in a way to express myself and what I like. You know, everything with the group, and you know, we got Dutch and Bateman and Vita. We all share the same likes and interests of certain things, horror movies and true crime. Since I was a little kid, man, like I loved horror films. Like if I had a passion for anything else other than wrestling, it would be horror films and all that stuff. So my mother was a big horror fan. She got me into it like at an early age, and I mean, you can see I got all this stuff around me here. This is kind of like my dream room, man, that I've always kind of wanted. I have a bunch of like movie props and stuff that we kind of put around. So I've always been interested in it, and it was always a part of me. It was just finding a way to kind of bring that part of me out in, the wrestling world, and in a way that I could do it. That possibly you're always going to get similarities and comparisons, but because it's very hard, and there's very few of people that are kind of do this type of thing or express themselves in this type of way. But yeah, for the longest time I've been a horror fan and all that different kind of stuff, and so this started kind of we were the 6-man tag team champions in the Kingdom. And it was around the time that, past partner there, TKO Ryan, broke his leg. I found myself kind of in this weird spot where like I was like, oh wow, like this is going to come to an end eventually. So it made me kind of like, it opened my eyes a little bit to be like, who am I? You know what I mean? What is my, like, what is my thing here? What do I like? Or how can I show a little more of, what I'm about? So that's kind of where the Horror King thing kind of came about, and it kind of evolved since then. I kind of in your face stuff right away, and then took a lot of it, trimmed a lot of it off, and now I'm just kind of like, me. So it's just a part of me, man, and it is something that I kind of always wanted to. I always had this like vision. I just didn't know how to, bring that out. But over time, it was a very slow growth process. But I'm I think I'm feeling it now. I'm feeling like, I feel comfortable is I guess the word I'm looking for. I feel comfortable with what I'm doing and what we're doing as a whole. So, I'm looking forward to seeing like what, we do next, after, this big cage match and stuff, what's in store for, like, I'd like people to see more of what, like, Dutch can do. Cause, I've known Dutch for years, and he's great. And I want, people to be able to see what he and Bateman together could do as a team would be ideal for me. That I'd like for it to happen. So, yeah, so it was always kind of like a vision that I had that I was, hoping I could kind of, show eventually. And, I did. So.
All right. Two things. I loved when you started off and you're doing the balloon. That was, I always love that because it's a play to it, right?
Well, it's funny, like, yeah, if you're going to relate it to anything, of course. But it's so funny that, like, people are like, oh, yeah, I was never a big It fan, to be honest with you. Like, growing up as a kid, it was never one of my, not even close to being one of my favorites. But to me, I remember I debuted that in the Hammerstein, and they came up or whatever, and it kind of got like a, like, oh, what is this? Just something a little different that, nobody's ever really seen before in wrestling. So, so at that point I was just kind of like, oh, this can kind of be like, it's a visual thing. You know what I mean? You see it, it's kind of cool. For that very moment, it's a kind of a cool visual thing. So I kind of rode that for a little while, and, made it a thing within the kingdom and stuff. So, like, wherever the red balloons come out, here he comes, so but yeah, it was kind of I didn't think, I was like, well, this is either going to go one or two ways. Either it's going to be a complete dud, or people are going to be like, oh, this is pretty cool. And it seemed like people kind of enjoyed it for the time that I did it. So but again, it was one of those things that, like you said, you're never going to look at a red balloon and relate it to Vincent. You're always going to look at a red balloon and relate it to it. So it's kind of one of those things where, like, yeah, it's cool. The visual is cool, but it'll never be mine, no matter how hard you try to make it yours. It'll never be that. So cool thing for that pop culture, for that time of when it was like, that movie was just coming out and all this other stuff. So it was kind of a cool little thing, kind of layer to what I was about to do.
It's funny because you'll see, like, when pop culture gets tied into wrestling, you'll see, like, bigger companies, like, they'll really play off of that. They'll, like, design a wrestler just to be like something that's popular at that time. And ROH really never got into that, like, whole, like, pop culture thing and, like, really drawing from that. So it was nice to see. And it was kind of cool because it was almost like your calling card. Like, you were the Joker. Like, this is like...
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Like that was the kind of, that was kind of like the vibe I kind of wanted, man. It was like, oh, he's the red balloons here, here he comes. You know what I mean? And it had that, like, it was cool because sometimes it had those, if there was a big match going on that I was involved in, and I was, hiding under the ring, it almost, like, it had the feeling when they eventually would come out where, like, people were almost like, are they going to come out or are they not going to come out? There's always kind of a cool thing like that, you know what I mean, to play with. But yeah, that was a little fun time, little with the red balloons. Yeah, it was a nightmare though, getting those things ready, I'll tell you that. But
you had to get them ready yourself?
Well, I had to kind of, like, I had part in, like, directing to get them ready, but it was a process, man.
You good?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought you had one more.
I do. So, go ahead. You haven't talked yet.
So you said about going into this cage match. This match isn't just a one-off cage match. This rivalry, it's been building for a while now, and like you said with the Kingdom, you guys were together for a little bit, and then for a lot of bit, obviously, but it really has morphed into this blood feud. And I mean, because you guys have known each other for such a long time, and one of the things I've seen of Ring of Honor, that this is probably one of the longest feuds I've ever seen Ring of Honor do, and you guys are, I mean, at the top of the game when it comes to entertainment and weaving in and out of this story. It's pretty impressive, and to end up in Philly for this cage match, it seems like a pretty fitting ending. If it is an ending,
I agree, man, and well, it should be the end. Yeah. The last stand. I think it will be the end. But on what was it? November 2nd, 2019. is when I happily drove that axe through Taven's head and scarred him for the rest of his life. And it's been a year and a half, you know. It's been going on for a year and a half, man. And I think personally, there is no better place to kind of end it in a steel cage other than 2300 Arena in Philly. You know what I mean? The history of that building is just, awesome in itself. So to do it there, I think is like, it's perfect. It's like the perfect setting, and I thought it would, be at best in the world possibly, but I think Philly is definitely the right way to do it in my opinion. But I guess the last cage match was 7 years ago, so and Taven, I believe it was Matt Taven versus Jay Lethal. So 7 years later, I get to be in a steel cage match for Ring of Honor in the main event in Philly is it's pretty cool, man. And I get to take that world title shot from Taven, so I'm looking forward to it very much.
Now, I asked Larry this before, and neither one of us knew it. Would this be your first Ring of Honor world title shot?
So I've gotten 2 title shots before. I actually got 1 world title shot before I was even with Ring of Honor against Jay Lethal in my hometown of West Warwick. And the second time was, I believe, with Lethal again. I forget exactly where we were, but it was when I was with the Kingdom. It was kind of a quick deal. But,
I remember that one.
Yeah, man. I held the belt up and I kicked it across the ring.
I do remember that one.
I paid for it after that, but so the 2 times there was when I got those 2 shots. But this is the one I feel like if I win this steel cage match that I pretty much go on from there and hopefully get another. I will have the world title shot, but hopefully, get over to whoever the world champion is and, become Ring of Honor world champion. I mean, that's the goal, right? So, hopefully.
If I were to have guessed, I wouldn't have thought that would have been your goal. I thought wreaking havoc is number 1, and this was kind of.
Well, I feel like I've already done enough of that in the last year and a half. So I think it's time to get a little trophy for all of it. You know what I mean? All the suffering everybody else has gone through, and myself. Might as well walk away holding something, right?
So there is a means to an end for this. Yeah. I thought this was just going to be continuous carnage for the duration of your time.
Well, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what comes next. You know what I mean? After this cage match, so I'm pretty sure this cage match is gonna, have all the carnage within a year and a half thrown into the side of this cage is gonna be a pretty. I'll be crawling out. I know that, and so will he. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I
relate this feud to, I would put it on like a Steen Generico type level to where it's just like. Like you two are like joined at the hip, whether you like it or not. Like you two have a history. When you're together, whether it be together or against each other, there's going to be some sort of magic that's made. And you were able to carry a feud through a pandemic where it was tough to get anything, like get steam or traction on anything. You were able to carry that through a pandemic over a year-long feud and kind of make it interesting, make it interesting every time that you two were on the screen. There was always something new happening. So
yeah, man, it's very tough. And like, I've heard that from a few people and, it's awesome that, people say that and think that, but we do go way back, man. Like, our first days of training, at the Spike Dudley Lockup Academy in Fall River, like 2009, even before that, 2008, as I think we met. He started in 2008 at Spike's, and then I came in 2009, but we knew each other before we even went to that school, doing other random indies until Spike kind of discovered us and told us to come to his school. So it's, it's well over a decade of kind of, we started out at training, helping each other, getting, wrestling on the East Coast with each other up and down, traveling together, even the Ring of Honor, dark matches and, going to the shows, before we even got here, we were doing all that together. So yeah, we've definitely, there's definitely a major history there with the two of us in our careers for sure.
Well, and I think the best thing about you guys, like Joe said, the magic that comes with it, it's hard to find, especially if you look in mainstream wrestling, because mainstream wrestling, now the fans are getting back, is a little different. But fighting through COVID, mainstream wrestling was trying to put pieces together, see what worked, see what didn't work, and ROH seemed to get it right, I think, the quickest. Like, they had the plan, they went back to the pure tournament, they brought the pure title back, and then they had guys like you and girls like Vita and all the Women of Honor. They really put a lot of things together really quick, and they got a Danhausen, Tony Depp, and you got a lot of characters, you got solid wrestling in Lethal and Gresham, and the list goes on and on. For you guys to be able to do that as a company, it was impressive and fun to watch, and we say it all the time on our show. Ring of Honor, if Sinclair would do something a little bit more with Ring of Honor, if we could find you weekly, I think on TV.
If I were to just turn on see, we have an old school mentality of where I don't go on social media. I'm like, I guess it's laziness if you just boil it down to it. I want it at my fingertips on my TV because I've always been a TV person. I don't sit on the computer.
I dig it, and like I totally understand. I mean, and there's still a bigger percentage of people that aren't on social media. You know what I mean? That love wrestling and love, like you just said, to turn on the TV and boom, there it is, and whatever they enjoy watching. It's just like, it's like any TV show that you boom, pop it on, and there you go. And to touch on the during the pandemic thing, man, like the pure tournament I thought was fantastically done over that period of time, and even now, man, it was just the whole everything with the fans coming back at Best in the World, man, it was just like that was just something that like all of us, everybody couldn't wait for, fans, everybody in the locker room. It was just like that night was it was wild. It was great to kind of have that that back, you know what I mean, because we were doing the empty arena stuff, and you kind of get used to it and you adapt to what's to your surroundings, you know what I mean, and you do things a little differently, but there's nothing like I think sometimes you can take that for granted, but there's nothing like having that, full audience there at Best in the World. But yeah, man, I agree. With, like I said, there's that percentage of people that I think that don't, follow social media, there are, and, they want to be able to turn on the TV and kind of catch whatever program that they're into or whatever they like.
That's how I first started watching ROH. My dad found it on, I think it was the tapings. I want to say it was before TNA or something. It was before another wrestling program, but
okay,
the tapings were on, and then it was Dalton Castle, Cheeseburger. There was like I was introduced to a whole new like group of wrestlers that I had never heard of, and it was awesome. And it's easy to find ROH. It's easy it's easy to get online or go just on Twitter and hit the link and watch it. Like I said, it's partially laziness.
Well, like that Honor Club. The Honor Club does very well. Like, you know what I mean. We have a lot of people on Honor Club, which that is actually coming back. Full swing after now everything's picking up and stuff. So the Honor Club subscription is pretty ideal for like kind of keeping up with the product and whatnot. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Now you're like one of the OGs of ROH right now. So like you, Taven, Lethal, Briscoes, you got.
I don't know if
you're not as consider. I would not as old as the Briscoes are like the grandfathers.
I mean I came in at what was it? I came in at 2016, October 1st or 2nd of 2016 was my debut with the Kingdom, and I've been there since.
All right.
But there's a lot of guys that are kind of been there for a while, like Taven, Silas, Dalton, Lethal, Briscoes, obviously. So there's still a Kenny's been there for a bit.
Yeah, Kenny King's been there for
so there's a good batch of guys that have been with Ring of Honor for a long period of time.
I'm going to rephrase this.
Yeah.
I'm going to rephrase this. You've seen a change, like a good amount of change in the roster. I just needed your help.
Yeah, man. I think a couple times, but I have. Yep. I've seen the change. I've been there for that.
So, how does this roster differ from the previous ones? Like, where do you see this roster going? I mean, growing, staying kind of the same, and working with what you got, or?
I think, in my personal opinion, I see it growing. I personally have already since the like we talked about earlier during the pandemic and stuff, with the Pure Tournament and the new talents that we brought in. I see it growing, and I feel like it has grown since that time, you know what I mean? So I think it's I think if anything, that we're on the uprise for sure. That's my opinion. I'm sure other people have their own opinions, but from what I feel and what I see, that's my opinion. I think we're on a pretty good upswing with the roster. I think everybody, man, is talented on the roster, you know what I mean? And that's pretty much that's how I feel. I think there's so much more to do with the roster and who we have, and kind of building from there, especially with the Pure stuff back and all this different stuff. I think it's we have the women's division is picking up big time, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of cool stuff.
Really good roster too on the women's side.
Yeah, man, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I feel like, I don't want this to sound disrespectful, but I feel like ROH had a resurgence at the perfect time during the pandemic. They kind of went back to more of their roots and what they were known and liked for maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and they kind of just focused on that. And I feel like ROH they hit a little lull after the Bucks, Cody, and all those guys left. I felt like they hit a lull, and I don't know if that was... I know there's the diehard ROH community.
Of course.
And I'm an ROH fan, but I wouldn't classify myself as one of the diehards.
Yeah.
But I feel like it hit a lull, and then they brought in a bunch of people. They opened up the books. They got to work, and then figured it out. Wrestling's so overproduced. It is, and simplicity sometimes is welcomed, and I feel like they've boiled it down to a simplistic recipe, and it's easier to obtain and absorb and enjoy. And I think that's why I'm back in.
Yes, for sure.
And I think that goes with I think a lot of things, just in life in general, have their ups and downs, and wherever it may be, and I think like you just said, sometimes that less is more, you know what I mean? So you can get more out of that less, you know what I mean? So I think like you said, the whole, we were talking about, going back to the roots and stuff that I feel that Pure Tournament kind of kicked that off, and, kind of getting people to remember what Ring of Honor was about, you know what I mean, in a sense. So, and I think it was just kind of been building from there. So,
and then you add because there was a lack of factions in wrestling. I remember I was saying there's no factions anymore, and you guys got factions. There's groups now.
Oh, there's plenty of factions here, man.
Every single one of them is different, completely different. Yes. Everyone's got a different persona, which is nice to see, because some factions will sometimes look very similar, or kind of
it's a good variety of
absolutely
stuff,
it's just nice to see. I'm trying to...
Well, and that's the thing, is that the difference, whether it's Violence Unlimited, whether it's The Righteous, all around, there's so many different, and each different person in those factions are all different. Like, I think that's the biggest thing about the factions. Like, yeah, the factions themselves might be different, but then the makeup of those athletes are even more different.
Right.
So like, yeah, you can like a faction, but then maybe only like one guy in the faction because you're drawn to that guy. Like, it is all over the board, and it's good for Ring of Honor because there's a lot of representation all across the board.
Right, and like it's just like I mean, man, it's just like when you see like a movie or there's a TV show that you like, it's like, you know, everybody in it is different, you know, and you have those different characters or people that you're, you know, I like this guy, but I also like this guy. This guy's good at this, but this guy's good at that, and you know, they all represent their own thing in a way, you know what I mean, and have, you know, and then you take that pretty much and combine it like in a faction there. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
It's almost like a superhero faction. Like they all got different superpowers.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely compare it to that because like everybody loves like all those superheroes individually, right? Now you put them together, and now you have like, you know, the superhero. You know,
the Super Friends.
Yeah, the Super Friends, man.
I wanted to take it off of ROH for a second and just talk a generalization wrestling question. Just one that I thought of. So if you were to take the current landscape of wrestling and you were to make the perfect wrestler, like be able to pull different characteristics from other wrestlers, like say you would take charisma, athleticism, ability to speak. I know it's out there, but
ability to speak, man. I think the Rock. You can't go any. You know that. I mean, the guy's personality is like through the roof. I mean, I always thought that's a tough one, man. That's a tough question. Well, what would be your ideal?
So if I were to take, I'll just use current, like a current roster, just because it's not fair if I bring back, like, I would be able to make like the Ultron of
you'd have like the super shredder of wrestling.
I could just take Kevin Nash then at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, man.
I mean, the ability to speak, I'd probably make Kevin Owens my ability to speak. My like grit and tenacity would probably be like a Daniel Bryan. Athleticism, I mean, I'd be remiss to say if I didn't say like Kenny Omega athleticism.
That's a hell of a hybrid there. There you go.
And maybe use like a Gresham technical. Like but if he was a big guy, I would probably make him as agile as like a Bronson Reed.
Okay. Bronson Reed, man, I'm a big fan of Bronson Reed. I think Bronson Reed is great. Yeah.
He's like it was funny, the last I think it was the match for the North American title. He's wearing like the Natural Disasters colors. I'm pretty sure it was like Typhoon's colors. I was like, man, that's like a perfect throwback for me. And he reminds me, like, he's a lot more agile. He's almost like a cross between like Bigelow and Vader.
And he's got that cool like the screen thing there they do with the helicopters and stuff.
Yes.
Like,
yeah.
It's cool, man. I dig that. That's a sweet entrance right there.
So
all right, so that's a good one. Yeah. I don't.
It's a tough one, and I threw it out there.
Yeah, that's a really tough thing to kind of come up with. Yours was good.
All right, so
how about you?
See, well, the thing is,
he wants to answer, but he's thinking about it.
I think that's...
I would because he's one of my top. I would go with Kevin Owens again on the talker thing. I love Kevin Owens. So
I thought you were going to go different.
No, Kevin Owens for sure for talking. In ring ability, I want to go with a Seth Rollins. Because the motor, because of what he can usually pull off,
and he's good at selling too.
Yes, yeah. So Seth Rollins, of course, with athleticism on the mic.
You already got KO.
Yeah, with KO. What else am I missing?
I don't know. You can
Technical prowess. I actually am going to steal from Daniel Bryan instead of the grit, because I love what Daniel Bryan does in there. When he can get going, he can be one of the best in the world. What else? What else was there? You go over, because you said 4. Trying to think of
it's hard.
It's very hard, especially on the spot. Like, if we give me a little bit to think about it, it'd be different. But
right.
like it's right on the spot, especially not having dead air to try and think about it.
All right,
it's
so
hard to do.
I threw out a dead air question.
You know what? I'll draw up a sketch. Like what my hybrid would look like.
Oh, I actually like that. If you do that, can you tag us so we can see what I just imagine like just crazy looking person. Like I got bronze arms, I got like I got Gilbert's body.
Yeah, my hair.
There you go. All right, we'll bring it back to Ring of Honor just for fun. Of people that you haven't been in the ring with, like say the new crop of talent, like who are some people that you want to get in there with, whether it be just to wrestle or to have like just a long drawn out feud with?
Okay, I would love like Jay Lethal would be like I'd like that to kind of go in like a series of different matches. Somebody that I would like to have one-on-one singles with is a couple people. Bandito be one of them. And that's not just because he's a Ring of Honor World Champ. Bandito's a talented dude. And Mark Haskins is another one that I would like to do a singles match with. I think Mark Haskins is fantastic. But there's a lot, man. There's like we talked about earlier, the whole roster is just so talented that like Gresh, you know, I haven't wrestled Gresham and maybe since like I think it was like 2017, like a survival of the fittest qualifying match. We might have had something kind of, you know, a quick, you know, 12 minutes or something. But Gresh, you know, I would love to get in the ring with him again. There's a lot. Shane Taylor. There's a bunch of different guys that I would love to, but those are kind of like the ones that like come off the top of my head that I could throw at you. There's like, you know, even Adam Brooks, who's, you know, overseas, you know, when he comes in, he still hasn't even been here yet, but he's somebody too, you know, but there's a ton of them, man.
That's another thing. There is some talent that isn't even there yet. Like there's a good amount of talent. There's some big names that aren't even wrestling yet because they can't get here.
Right. It's it's funny because I see them all, like they're fired up, man. They're ready to come back, you know what I mean? And we got like, you know, Session Moth is still over there. We got Adam Brooks, Joe Hendry, you know, Haskins. There's quite a few. But hopefully, you know, everything, you know, is gonna kind of fall into place very soon. They can, you know, get back over here.
Yeah, I mean, the border's opening up for Canada soon, from what I hear.
So tell me, how do you guys know Dutch?
He's
a friend of a friend.
Yeah, that is through the Now, Vic Delicious and Hale Collins, who we came across at House of Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore.
Okay,
love their heel work. They kind of drew us in. And then
no, the funny thing is that we hated them, and then we didn't realize that we liked them because we hated them. We're like, they're really good at pissing. They were really good at pissing off the Philadelphia fans, and it was kind of like a throwback to all the sports that we've watched and the characters that come through.
So
here.
You guys are from Philly?
Yes.
Oh, so you guys are going to be there?
Absolutely. Both nights.
Hell yeah.
Both nights.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's funny because I know Hale Collins as well, man. And I actually, Dutch and I kind of hit it off when we were at Monster Mania in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. They do the big horror con there. Yeah. And Hale goes all the time. And he invited me for like years. And I eventually went. And that's when, you know, I always knew.
He invited us to that too.
He did.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good time, man. It's a good time. I always knew Dutch, obviously, through the wrestling scene. But once we hung out at the horror convention, now it's kind of like a thing. You know, I'm going. There's one August 13th 13th to the 15th, I'm going to be over in Cherry Hill again for that one. The weekend right before the cage, actually.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's how like Dutch and I met, and he's awesome, man. He's great, and like I said, he's we talked about, you know, agile big guys earlier. He's agile for his size,
big
man.
time.
And, yeah, that's why like I'm kind of looking forward to, you know, seeing what comes next for him too in Ring of Honor.
That I think was the biggest surprise for us, because we had Dutch on with his former tag partner with Dan Barry, and you have Team Tremendous, and it
was completely different.
Yeah, we knew he was into horror because we had both of them on the show a couple different times.
Right.
But he was, insanely funny guy. So much fun to talk to. Great in the ring, funny in the ring as well, because that was kind of their thing. And then all of a sudden, for Ring of Honor to announce and him come out and be with you guys, it blew our minds. We were like, wow, like this is what he's been looking for. Like, it's that perfect fit.
Vincent ruined everything.
No, because I
liked it better, actually.
I love character development. I love seeing someone try something new, but this is like not something new that they've never done before. This is like home. This is like home.
Right, and then like that's kind of like, you know, that's kind of thing. I did watch the one you guys did with him, and that's kind of like what he explained is like there was, you know, I needed someone, and I had, you know, been going to these conventions with Dutch for a bit now, and I just thought like, you know, this guy would be perfect for, you know, like what I'm looking for here. You know what I mean? He just fills the shoes so well, and he loves this stuff. So you know what I mean?
You can tell.
To me there was just no one better. You know what I mean? There was nobody better that fit that slot that I needed, you know? So, you know, I went right over to him, and it took a little while, but you know, eventually, you know, what the debut on the anniversary for him was just, you know, awesome. And yeah, I'm pumped to have him. You know what I mean? It's I think like he's such a genuine guy that I think he just like adds so much to everything, you know, the locker room too, you know what I mean? And just, you know, but yeah, he was the right move. He was the right move, I think.
So is Bateman the wild card of the group? Because he seems like he could be the most unhinged.
Bateman is an unhinged dude, and Bateman has actually been wrestling for a pretty long time. Like he's been wrestling, I think, since maybe 98 or something like that. So
really?
he's a very experienced wrestler, you know, and he's very good.
Mm-hmm. He is very good.
I mean? Like if you know, he's had some pretty good matches. Him and Bandito was great. Unfortunately, I had to beat him up afterwards because he didn't win the tournament, you know, because I want the world title shot and he was supposed to get it for me, but you know, he's great, and yeah, he's been wrestling for a very long time. But yeah, he's probably, I'd say pretty much like he's probably the more unhinged of the of the group, you know. And Dutch, we just have him just run everybody over. He just stands there and lets people run into him, you know.
That would be it. Well, one, it'd be completely different than Team Tremendous, but that would be a very interesting tag team, and almost, in my eyes, unstoppable. Like how at this point, how do you guys be stopped?
With Bateman and Dutch tagging.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, man, like, so I would love to see Bateman and Dutch versus the Briscoes.
Yeah,
absolutely. I just think, you know what I mean? Like that's something that I would love to watch, you know. I think because I just know they would just kill each other.
Absolutely.
It would just be, you know, it would just be wild. You know what I mean? Like those four with like a fight without honor or something wild like that, you know, I think it would be pretty awesome watch. But yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing like what they do, you know, as a team and stuff. Like, you know, hopefully, you know, after this cage, we can see a little bit more of them teaming with each other.
The other thing I did want to touch on that happened more recently is Vita being yanked from the women's tournament because she was told she couldn't
That's my fault.
interfere.
A lot of hypocrisy going on over there in ROH, though, because didn't someone else just interfere and not get their gold ticket taken away?
Yeah.
I don't know. Was there?
I think there was a match. Man, it was on ROH TV. When was that? It wasn't long after Vita.
I think it was this week.
Was pulled. And Maria pulled her, and that was kind of, you know what I mean? That's a big loss for Vita to be pulled out of this tournament now.
Yeah, she'll be able to go for the woman. I know she wanted the woman's title so badly and be in that tournament so badly, but right now it's about me trying to get to the Ring of Honor World Championship.
It's the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So
everyone is one.
But honestly, she's also very talented, and I think you'll definitely see more with the women's, the Woman of Honor stuff kind of picking up. I'm pretty sure that you're going to see more of what Vita can do as well. So I'm pretty pumped, man, about the future of Ring of Honor and what. How everything's kind of just falling into place, for a lot of people.
It is really good to see. I'm going to ask for a favor. If you do pitch that Dutch and Bateman versus the Briscoes, can you make that in Philadelphia too?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right. Again, another match that would just be perfect for that arena. The history of that arena is just great, man. And it's crazy. I actually I had my first serious injury in that arena. I was wrestling Leo Rush in a dark match, and I dislocated my shoulder completely out, and it was terrible and awful. But it's one of those memories, you know what I mean, that I have in the back of my head every time I walk in there. I'm like, oh, that's what a nightmare that was.
not one of the best memories to have.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But that building just has so much wrestling history. It's just anything that you can do there for a big match or whatever. It's I love that place. I think it's perfect. It's awesome.
It's fun because a lot of the
rowdy crowd, man.
I was just gonna say a lot of the people that go there were the same people that also went to ECW back in the day. They just grew up a little bit, and now they're back to watch more wrestling. So they're
right, and it kind of with the generations too. It just kind of it's crazy because it stays that way. So it's just kind of people following suit, you know what I mean, of what happened, years ago and stuff. So it's
apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Yeah, it's definitely got a good vibe, man. That's one of my favorite places, and the Hammerstein was always one of my favorite places to wrestle, and that's where we became the first 6-man tag champs, actually, in that building. But that building too has that similar vibe of just wrestling belongs here in this building. You know what I'm saying? That's
what final battle did we go to?
The one where Dalton beat Cody.
Yeah, so 2017, 2018?
It was one of the coolest places I've ever gone to.
Walking in there because us growing up watching Monday Night Raw at Hammerstein.
Of course.
It was ridiculous.
It was the biggest nostalgia. Wow, yes. I can't believe I'm here right now.
Yeah. Right, and it just the design of the building is just cool too. You know what I mean? It's crazy wild painting on the ceiling, and then how it feels the for us the fans are just looking over everything because it goes so high up. You know what I mean? And then just the kind of has that very Coliseum feel to it, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's a cool building.
Wrestling opera.
Yeah, hopefully we can get back there too, because that's one of my favorites.
So one thing I did want to ask, because obviously for the most part you've been so known for Ring of Honor, is there anything in the back of your mind to where this this might not end at Ring of Honor. You might want to go somewhere else, especially with the landscape opening up a lot of different places and more guys and more big names moving around to different promotions. Is that even a thought in your mind? Or are you more working on the now and where you're at, other than just thinking ahead?
I think it's more, I'm very I'm happy where I am in Ring of Honor, and I think there's, for me personally, there's so much more, things for me to do in Ring of Honor that I haven't done that I want to do. So, that's kind of like where my mind is right now.
And having the creative freedom to kind of do that is also a big...
Correct. You know what I mean? I like having, I like being able to have some sort of vision, you know what I mean? And just kind of being able to, have, like you said, have the freedom to kind of play with that, you know what I mean?
I think that's one of the bigger things that draws me to Ring of Honor when I think about it, is that knowing that this is what these wrestlers want to do, it kind of gives you a different feel. Like someone who's forced to do something, you can kind of tell, all right, well, this is kind of forced. But a more natural feel to it, it's nice to see.
Anything, with some authenticity of that person is always going to prevail over anything else. You know what I mean? So, I agree.
Yeah. So, Vincent, we want to thank you so much for taking the time talking with us. We absolutely cannot wait for August 20th and especially August 21st in the 2300 Arena. Steel Cage, you and Taven, winner getting that, and Taven holding on to the title shot, you getting that title shot if you beat him, and the end of this rivalry, even though it's been an amazing rivalry.
It's a
so
cage
much
match.
Fun.
It's a cage match in Philly. This is what...
It's a cage match in Philly, man. I'm pumped for it, too.
I can't fucking wait.
Going. I am so pumped that you guys are going.
Absolutely. You wouldn't miss it. No way.
Oh, I'm
awesome.
gonna be going ape shit.
Yes, yeah. We much rather be in 2300 Arena on the 21st than watching some pay-per-view that's happening in Vegas. So
I dig it.
We definitely can't wait. So thank you once again. It was great talking to you, and we will be seeing you on the 20th and 21st.
Sounds good. Thank you, boys. Appreciate it very much.
Have a great night.